Hi, I'm Bob Stack. As you may know, one of my hobbies is collecting guns. I've hunted on and off all my life, from California to Mexico to safaris in Africa. Now, speaking of guns and faraway places, I've just come back from a trip to Vietnam, where guns are used for an entirely different purpose. I wanted to visit our men out there, talk to some of them, which I did, foot soldiers mostly, fighting and dying too for what they believe is right. Just before I left Vietnam, I met some men who were fighting a different kind of war. Air Force pilots who fly their aircraft without guns or rockets or bombs of any kind. Yet they encounter more enemy ground fire, more surface-to-air missiles and MiGs, and lose more men and aircraft per mission than any other air operation in the entire war. In fact, this aircraft we're looking at here and its crew were lost to enemy ground fire that same afternoon. The part these men play in the war goes under the label of tactical reconnaissance. Now, some people may not know what that means, but believe me, the enemy does. Northern Thailand, just a few miles from the border of Laos, is the city of Udon. There's little here to attract the tourist trade like there is in Bangkok, for example. But it does have a feature that appeals immensely to the United States Air Force. It is only 30-odd minutes by jet to the capital of North Vietnam. The tactical aircraft stationed at Udon, RF-4Cs and RF-101s, are not fighters in the strict sense of the word, but their pilots are. They fly these aircraft over the same targets pounded by the fighter bombers. Rail yards, roads, bridges, MiG bases, harbors, centers of heavy industry. Their entire arsenal consists of cameras and other sensing devices. Nose oblique and side oblique cameras, split vertical, panoramic. Cameras that are 10 times more effective than those used in World War II. The fact that they drop no bombs on the targets in no way diminishes the enemy's fear when he sees or hears them roar by overhead. For they are essentially airborne observation platforms from which strike commanders and intelligence officers far removed from the scene can look down upon the enemy and maintain a constant check of his activities.
Perhaps you haven't realized, but here in Vietnam there are two distinct types of war being fought. South of the demilitarized zone, the action is on the ground. It's an army war. And the air forces are being used in direct support of this ground action. In the north, there is no ground war. The war is being fought in the air, and the air forces are being used to interdict these major supply routes to stop the flow of men and supplies to support of the Viet Cong. Now, the role of tactical reconnaissance in this northern air war is to provide photographic intelligence, both night and day, of the capabilities of the North Vietnamese to support the Viet Cong. Additionally, the photographic intelligence that we provide enables the air commander to more effectively employ his tactical strike forces in North Vietnam.
For reconnaissance pilots, the mission is only half over when they photograph the target. It isn't complete until they return with the film. And if they fail to do so, another crew must go through it all over again. This is in contrast to strike pilots who complete their job when they clobber the target. But, of course, they all want to come back.
Kudos down, let's go.
Some reconnaissance missions are, of course, more critical than others. The most urgent is usually for bomb damage assessment, or BDA. Regardless of the mission's priority, however, the men whose job it is to recover the film waste no time in downloading it from the aircraft and rushing it to the lab for processing. The purpose of this particular mission was to photograph construction progress on a bombed-out highway bridge in North Vietnam, to determine when it'll be back in service again. One of many such flights over the same target. Within 1 hour after the aircraft's return, negatives from the various cameras begin to emerge from rapid automatic processing machines. There are 2 main reconnaissance film processing facilities in Southeast Asia. One at Udorn, the other at Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Saigon, each operating on a 24-hour-a-day schedule. Here the film is processed, analyzed, titled, printed, and prepared for distribution to various interested agencies, all within a matter of a few hours. Among the first to view the film, and rightly so, are the pilots who risk their lives to obtain it.
Hold it. There's the High-Gear rail bridge.
Boy, what a picture. You have the approaches and everything real good.
The approaches have been repaired. Bridge is definitely back in business. Looks like it's ready to handle traffic.
Sergeant Palmquist, make sure that this film gets on the first available courier to headquarters.
Yes, sir. Departure time is 14:20.
From this photo, it appears that they have repaired all the bomb craters on the approaches to the bridge, and it seems that they've done a great deal of repair work on the bridge itself.
It's obvious the bridge is completely serviceable now. Zim, when was the last time we struck this target?
About 3 weeks ago.
Well, I'll bring this information to the General's attention right away. The enemy can carry a lot of material over this target.
Yes, sir.
A strike has been ordered. An F-105 Thunder chiefs out of Korat Air Base in Thailand take off for Haggia, their pilots having previously been briefed with the aid of photographs of the target taken the day before. Because of smoke and dust created by the bombs, and the need to dodge surface-to-air missiles and heavy ground fire, strike pilots are frequently unable to accurately assess the results of their mission while they're over the target.
I think one of the main things we have...
This part of the operation must be accomplished by tactical reconnaissance, a job made more difficult by the fact that the enemy knows they will soon be coming in and is prepared and waiting for them. With a flight plan established and a final briefing under their belts, they take off. Destination, Haggia. Documentary proof of bomb damage on the Haggia Bridge. One span dropped in the water. But this isn't a permanent situation by any means, as illustrated in these scenes showing the North Vietnamese furiously repairing a damaged railroad line. What they will do about the Haggia Bridge and how long it will take them is uncertain. But one thing is sure. Tactical reconnaissance will keep an eye on them until the time comes to knock it out again.
One term you'll hear a lot in the reconnaissance business, at least, is the barrel. The barrel to us is the area right around the vicinity of Hanoi. Hanoi in this general area and north and east of the Red River up to the areas around the Chinese border, which of course we avoid. To us, the barrel is the heaviest threat area in North Vietnam. The North Vietnamese have put together a composite defense system of MiGs, surface-to-air missiles, and light, heavy, and medium flak. And they use it very well in an attempt to stop both our reconnaissance, of course, and our strike forces that go into the area. For the people in reconnaissance, of course, we go in, as you know, without a gun on the airplane or without our own any defensive missiles, and many times, or most of the time, without support from friendly fighters, which means we're more or less left on our own on the basis of our flight planning, our skill in flying the airplane, and our knowledge in how to outmaneuver the defense. The defense itself, on some days, will throw everything they have and some things you didn't think they had. On other days, they'll be more relaxed and your threat will be less. But if you go over the heartland, if you go over Hanoi, or most of the important centers in the barrel, you can automatically consider that you'll receive the worst that they can dish out, and it'll come pretty fast.
This sequence is photographed on the streets of Hanoi, right after fighter bombers had struck the fuel storage depot in the outskirts of the city. An RF-101 roars in on a low pass for bomb damage assessment, resulting evidence of destruction.
The ultimate purpose of tactical reconnaissance in Southeast Asia, or anywhere else in the world, is to obtain valuable intelligence data through use of various aerial sensors, to be able to assess the enemy's capability to wage war or to sustain war. Most of these products take the form of aerial photographs, and I have some representative copies to show you today. Here you see probably men and materials being moved by rail, camouflage rail cars. Trucks are also used to move troops and supplies, and interdictions of this bridge have slowed traffic to a standstill. However, the enemy bypasses his downed bridges with ferries, underwater bridges to prevent detection, and cable crossings. Here you will note truck traffic has passed and is on the move. Another means is the pontoon bridge, usually in place 24 to 48 hours after the main bridge has been dropped. And here you'll note the trucks moving across in a single line on the pontoon bridge. The SAM-2 surface-to-air missile has become widely used in Southeast Asia. Here you see the SA-2 poised on its launcher and its central guidance facility. The MiG has been found through photographs, the MiG-21, the MiG-17, and the IL-28 medium-range bomber. You'll note the revetments that have been emplaced to protect the fields from attack. And lastly, you'll notice the silhouette of the RF-101 as it passes over a medium gun emplacement, in this case 57 millimeter. You'll also note the element of surprise with men running to their gun positions.
When darkness falls, the workday is ended for most crews who fly over North Vietnam. For the night flyers, it's just beginning.
Keep us in the valleys. See the
Pilot and navigator, plotting, in a sense, against a number of enemies. The usual ones, MiGs, SAMs, and AAA, plus the hazards of flying in total darkness over hostile territory at very low altitudes.
Okay, Jerry.
In this treacherous game, each man's life depends upon the ability, the professionalism of the other. The navigator is the key man in this world of blackness. The pilot believes in him. He wouldn't fly with anyone else. Among other sensing devices, night reconnaissance utilizes photo flash cartridges to photograph targets such as supply routes and nocturnal activity along the coast and in the harbors.
This will be our 23rd night mission tonight. We've got 45 total counters now over North Vietnam. Big difference between the day and the night jobs, of course, is that all your night stuff is at low altitude. Dodging around the mountains, watching out for rocks. And the navigation problems in this part of the world are really quite serious. It's a good thing we have a navigator in the airplane. We'd never be able to hack it with that one. Big thing that gets to us, some nights, we're the only airplane going up into the north, and when you think we're the only Americans over North Vietnam, it kind of makes you wonder just a little bit, you know. What am I doing here? But then finally, when you get in close to the target, you get too interested in what you're doing, too busy, paying attention to what's going on, watching for rocks, watching for the guns, and watching for the radar box. And it really, you don't have time to worry about being the only airplane up north. Would you believe there's a moon on the other side of all that murk?
Yes, sir. Isn't that the way it usually is?
Raj. Take us to good old 915, please.
Tico, taxi, takeoff, please.
Tico, taxi runway 30, altimeter 2959er, temperature 70.
Roger, Tico, take any altimeter, please.
Roger, altimeter 2959.
Unarmed tower, Tico, number 1 for takeoff, please.
Roger, Tico, wind calm cleared for takeoff.
Roger, Tico, taking the exit. Approaches a target area, running lights are extinguished. Then the photo flash cartridges are ejected, and a light sensor triggers a camera mechanism. Examples of the night's work. A Soviet ship unloading war material under cover of darkness. Troop movement along a country road. A concentration of over 50 trucks. The enemy's respect for American air power is such that he has virtually stopped moving men and supplies during daylight hours. 500 miles southeast of Udorn, early morning traffic jams the highway leading to Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Saigon. Tan Son Nhut is the hub of military air operations in Southeast Asia and is the busiest airport in the world. It is from here that a different kind of tactical reconnaissance is being flown.
Proctor, that aft station has a high priority film in it. Forward station has a low altitude fan. So get them downloaded into the processor. Anything wrong with the back seat?
No, sir.
Upload it and turn it around, Proctor.
Okay, sir, thank you.
We just landed from a mission up west of Pleiku in support of ground forces. Weather was kind of bad, low clouds, but we didn't get any ground fire. I'll tell you about the mission in just a moment. Hi, Salinas.
You have a good flight, sir?
Oh, pretty good. It rained on us a little bit. As I was saying, these visual and photo missions represent top priority in support of the ground forces here in South Vietnam by attack recce forces. Our workhorses for this job are the RF-101 Voodoo for day photo and the RF-4C Phantom 2 for the day and night role. The Phantom 2 is a brand new aircraft in the inventory, and it's doing a magnificent job over here for attack recce in support of the Army. Salinas, better slow down to about 15 miles an hour on the ramp. I suppose that we shoot up about the equivalent of the whole area of South Vietnam each month in support of the ground forces. And we fly right over them when they're in contact with the enemy or with Charlie. And I say shoot up, I don't mean to say that we're fighter pilots. Fighter pilots go boom and bang and zap, and we just go click, click. Sort of film with film, you might say. Now, after it goes into the photo lab and is processed and printed, we turn it over to the delivery and the courier aircraft, and they deliver it right to the Army commander in the field. And he takes it, studies it, and uses it to fight with.
Tiger 3-0, am presently following your route from Charlie Papa 3-2 at the road junction on the Mosaic. Observe you're in the clearing in the danger area. Have you any contact yet? Over.
Negative. I've checked my Mosaic and I'm approximately 200 meters from the location. I have made contact.
Damage 9 or 5, understand. Have a FAC in the area. Will contact you on command push. Am requesting an immediate 500 high drags, NAPE, and 20 mic. Over.
Rider on the bank.
Sidewinder 2-1, Dagger 3-0, over.
This is Sidewinder 2-1, over.
Dagger 3-0. BC Base Camp. Coordinates, X-Ray Tango, 886-248. Request immediate airstrike. Unit on the ground will contact you. Command push. Over.
Roger. Sidewinder 2-1, copy. We'll request an immediate. We've got a couple of hot ones in the area. I'll ask to have them diverted. Out.
Here they come!
Blue 2, Blue 1 was right on it. Put your load in the same spot.
The Army's requirement for mosaics and other types of photographs is so extensive that a typical month's supply would average around 18 tons. These photos reveal more about enemy positions, buildups, movements, and arteries of supply than any other source of intelligence in Southeast Asia. Speed is a keynote in the recce tech, as the lab is called. No film can be here more than 24 hours. When a high-priority job comes in, everything else stops, and results are usually reported in less than 2 hours. Prints are made at the rate of 100 feet a minute, and quality control assures high standards. There can be no mistakes or delays. There's seldom a second chance to photograph a truck convoy or troop movement. After processing, the film goes directly to the photo interpreters for analysis. These are specialists who are trained in reading between the lines, so to speak, to ferret out concealed information, visual nuances, which can reveal a wealth of intelligence data. Like detectives, they scan the photos for telltale evidence of the enemy's whereabouts and changes in his defense system. A slight variation in the overall foliage pattern, a peculiar mound or indentation, tire tracks that lead to nowhere. These are some of the clues that tip them off to concealed supplies, equipment, and weapons. One day this airman was scanning photographs taken less than 10 miles from the DMZ when he noticed dozens of vehicle tracks leading off a main road into the jungle. Using a magnifying glass, he saw what he'd hoped to find. 6 camouflage revetments in the otherwise unbroken canopy of trees. He reported his find to his supervisors, and 43 minutes later, American fighter bombers zeroed in on the target and knocked out a radar van and 5 surface-to-air missile launchers. Besides providing information on new targets and bomb damage assessment, the findings of the photo interpreters lead to updating of maps and enemy defense positions. It's a paradox, in a way, that all of these men, those who keep the cameras functioning in the aircraft, the camera maintenance men working round the clock, repairing, checking out intricate mechanisms, the men on the line who know how much the pilots depend upon the condition of their aircraft, and the pilots themselves, all of these people, plus millions of dollars in airplanes, fuel, and support equipment, all are involved in achieving one common goal, a relatively inexpensive strip of celluloid. But the actual value is beyond measure, for it might contain information that could change the course of a battle or even affect the outcome of the war. The men who make the greatest sacrifice for the end product are the pilots and navigators. They are the hunters and the hunted, the gamblers, staking their lives on their courage, intelligence, and flying skill. Good airmanship isn't always enough, however. This RF-4C crew, flying over Hanoi, may or may not have known when a surface-to-air missile was fired at them. When you know the odds against these men and their loss figures, You're hardly prepared to hear them talk about it so casually.
We didn't see anything at all, and all of a sudden there was a great big whoomp on the bottom of the airplane. And we knew right away we'd had it. The airplane started going uncontrollable, nose kind of pitched up, and we went into kind of a left bank, and all of a sudden we were on fire. I was hollering at Fred, and he was kind of sitting back there getting ready to go.
Yeah, I remember Ralph's mission. In fact, I was flying the day, the same area he was. I was coming up from Pleiku, I guess, 30 miles northwest. And I heard this transmission on guard. Mayday, mayday, help, I'm being hit. Got a fire in one engine, I'm shutting it off. And I said, God, Neptune, Neptune. And I remembered Ralph was flying Neptune that day, so I called our command post, and I said, do we have a bird Neptune up? And they said, Raj, Neptune, he's flying in the same area you are. I says, be advised, Neptune has taken a hit. He's squawking emergency, he's going for recovery at Da Nang.
We got the fire out finally by shutting down the engine, and the airplane seemed to be controllable, and we started heading out toward the water, and things seemed to be working okay. And so we got out over the water finally, and we were calling up on guard, trying to get as much help as we could. And
Neptune was about 110 miles out, and I just vectored toward him, started my descent about 50 miles out, 35,000 feet. And I got in closer. And by then, everybody was just converging on Neptune. Poor guy, he was more shook up than anything else, but all the birds converging.
And everybody was out there trying to help out. The 105 joined up with us and looked us over and said that the front part of our centerline tank was all blown away, and it was acting like a great big speed brake. We had holes all over the bottom of the airplane. It was blown out where the engine had caught on fire, and it was all blackened up. Part of our flaps was blown away, and it was looking kind of grim under the airplane there.
And then Lieutenant Hayashi ran into trouble himself.
But stick felt funny, pretty mushy. So I decided, well, something's got to be wrong. I checked my warning lights panel, and there was no indication whatsoever. So I engaged the autopilot, and wouldn't engage. We just nose kept dropping down. So I says, check the circuit breakers back there, Fred. He's my navigator, Fred Applechild. And he says, Raj, we have a pop circuit breaker. He pops it in, and all of a sudden the whole cockpit lights up. Fire bells start ringing. And I had lost my hydraulic pressure, my main hydraulic system. So I squawked in emergency. I called water boy. I said, give me a vector to Da Nang.
I blew down the flaps using the emergency system on them and put down the hook because I planned on making an approach-in barrier engagement. Everything kept looking okay all the way down final, until just prior to touchdown. We were about 5 or 6 feet in the air, and all of a sudden it felt like I lost complete control of the airplane, and all of a sudden it went up into about 60 degrees of bank, and the nose popped up, and I thought we'd bought the farm.
Superb assistance. Da Nang was just great. Need any help? What radio are you at? Squawk emergency. We'll bring you in, clear everything, cleared all the birds out of the traffic pattern. Came right in. Beautiful approach. Beautiful landing.
I pushed the power all the way in and hollered at him to get off the stick because I thought he was on it, but he swore he never was. I pushed the stick full forward and then all the way to the right, and the airplane kind of came on down and touched down in the world's probably poorest landing.
And I checked the bird over, and right next to the tail hook, the tail hook comes out, the aft section, there was a nice-sized hole, and apparently what happened is a small arms fire bullet had gone into the aft section, ruptured my hydraulic power control cylinder for the stabilizer, bled off all the hydraulic fluid, lost my pressure.
Started to slow down, everything looked real good, thought it was all over, and then the barrier broke. And as soon as it broke, well, we'd been smoking out of our left tire, and it started off to the left side of the runway. Hollered at Fred in the back seat to pull emergency brakes, and he did. And by using full right brake, I was able to keep it on the runway until we got slowed down to about 20 or 30 knots. And then we started going off the runway. Nothing I could do about it. No Fred sitting back there saying, well, what else can happen, you know? And so we went off the runway and off in the dirt. And everything kind of came to a stop in a bunch of dust, and we crawled out of the airplane.
Otherwise, this is a great mission.
The biggest satisfaction you get, aside from the fact that it's interesting and exciting and fear-ridden, is the fact you get good flicks. I mean, you get home here and the pictures look good and they're really first class, and you hit your target right on the button, and the strike boys hit their target, which makes them happy. And everybody from 7th Air Force Commander up is happy.
Over the first few targets, we started to pick up a heavy flak barrage at altitude, so we lit the afterburners again and went up another 8,000 or 10,000 feet, leveled off, and we're picking up the prime target when the missiles started. We had some roughly 20 missiles fired at us, the two aircraft, between the time we were over our first target until we left our last target in the immediate vicinity of Hanoi.
It's a constantly changing air battle up there, and it doesn't do anything to lessen the apprehension you may have prior to the mission, because you don't know exactly what the reaction is going to be.
My own personal remembrance of that particular mission was being able to roll up on the side and look down underneath the aircraft and see two smoke trails from missiles going underneath me, to look behind me and to be able to see two missiles going past my tail at my wingman, and to look up between the two aircraft. I was rolled up here, my wingman here, in a scissors, and see two more missiles come between us. A simultaneous intercept by 6 surface-to-air missiles, all of which we're very thankful missed.
I took a pretty direct hit, a lethal hit from a SAM surface-to-air missile, and we were cruising at 30,000 feet at the time, and I had to leave the airplane. The airplane did explode very shortly after I ejected. Got the chute out, and one of my major concerns in the chute on the way down was the fact that we were over hostile territory, and the possibility or probability of being shot at while I was in the chute prior to landing. No one did shoot, however. I got on the ground and listening for engine noises overhead, figuring that Homer would still be in the area trying to pinpoint me. And I got a place to hide, found a hole in the rocks and holed up in the rocks and waited for help, knowing full well that these Jolly Greens, the helicopter pilots and the Sandy pilots who are in the business of saving lives over here, would do their bloody best to get me out of that situation. And lo and behold, it wasn't very long after that I heard the engine noises, and in came the Sandys, the A1Es, and I knew that the Jollies wouldn't be too far behind.
Since this sequence was photographed, the same pilot was shot down again, and, incredibly enough, rescued again. This Jolly Green Chopper pilot has been awarded 4 Silver Stars for his daring rescue work in Vietnam, each time under heavy fire. This RF-101 pilot was awarded 3 Distinguished Flying Crosses during 1 week of combat flying. Some took off on missions and never returned. Whenever someone reaches the magic number 100 missions over North Vietnam, they take time out for a well-deserved celebration, pilot style.
There you go.
Where's crew chief? Now, where is he? Miller?
Fine airplane, Sergeant Miller.
Sandy? Come on, Sandy. Might as well do the honors. Right in here. Hold him. You haven't been in yet.
Then it's back to the schedule board. The same old script with the same cast. New targets, old targets, in the barrel and out again. A drama repeated with endless variations.
From your position coming in off the north end of Thud Ridge, you'll note the relationship of the SAM positions, of which...
Even as these men are being briefed on the Tai Nguyen Iron and Steel Works, some 50 miles north of Hanoi, fighter bombers are pounding the hell out of it. Soon the reconnaissance planes are on their way. A tough flight in any man's language. Unarmed, right into the barrel. Crossing the Red River, inbound to target. Starting to pick up flak now. There's a SAM sight at 3 o'clock. And the launch. If you spot them in time, you can take evasive action. Tying Wen up ahead. Cameras on. Straight and level over the target now. The moment of truth. Could be a very long time. Man, that was close. The return trip means running the gauntlet again. This time bounced by MiGs. Bandits, they call them. Unfriendlies. The name doesn't matter. But their being there does. And since the recce birds can't fight back, they have to rely on speed and pilot skill to escape. After a couple of hours of dodging missiles, flak, and MiGs, it's great to slide in safe on home plate.
How'd it go today? Well, I'll tell you, it wasn't too bad. We had quite a bit of 85 over the target area, though, so you might look to see if there's any flak in holes or any marks on the airplane. And we did have one missile go off about 500 feet from us, but I don't think that hit us either, so you might check on that. And we got bounced by MiGs going out, but they didn't, I don't think they touched us either, so I think we're all right. I have to look over the bottom of it pretty good.
Hey, glad to see you back.
Glad to be back, I'll tell you that.
Excuse me, sir. We just received the BDA photo on the steel mill strike. We really hit them hard this time, sir. We've completely destroyed the rolling mill.
What about the rail line over here?
There are hits throughout that yard.
And the steam line here?
Cut twice, sir.
Is this the open hearth there?
It is. We've done damage there also, as you see.
No? That'll really knock them out of business for a while.
Yes, sir.
Say, don't we have a follow-on strike schedule against this target tomorrow morning?
Yes, sir. 0500.
When the general sees this, I'm sure he'll want to cancel it.
When the general sees the photographs, he will cancel the strike. There's no need now to expose men and aircraft in another raid over a sufficiently damaged target. The day ends without fanfare, only fatigue. But it was routine, really. A day like other days. And tomorrow will be the same. The important thing in flying tactical reconnaissance is to understand the game, to be able to analyze your opponent's strategy, to employ every tactic, every trick in the book to accomplish your mission, and survive, to fight another day.
Well, I'm gonna go write a letter.
Maybe the real reward in this business is simply the inner knowledge of a job well done. The deep satisfaction of being counted among those who fly alone, unarmed, and unafraid.